I want you to join me in welcoming Diana Odok, a clinician at NMS, Nairobi Metropolitan Services, coordinating HIV and STI services. Welcome to the show, Diana.
Thank you so much. Good evening, guys.
Thank you for making time.
Thanks so much.
Your work must be hectic. Your typical day involves a lot. For you to make time to be with us on the Spice Drive, we appreciate. And we're going to get straight into it. And today's conversation is all about teenage pregnancies. You interact with a lot of young people. And this is an age group that's very sensitive. And there's a way to handle them. Whether you're talking about HIV, teenage pregnancies and STIs and things like that, there's a way to do it. How long have you been doing this work, Diana?
I've been doing this work for 10 years. I started, most of my work was to see these clients, but now I oversee. Now I mentor the clinicians in the facilities.
Yes.
To continue with the good work of having a tailored way of giving services to adolescent and young people. Yes.
Wow.
And this entails seeing them holistically. We can offer them both HIV services, reproductive health and sexuality services, and any other curative service. As we know very well that young people and adolescents shun away from health facilities,
right?
Because they feel that we will stigmatize or we will look at them like they've already started doing these things that people feel like they're not supposed to be done with young people. But the truth is, it is with us and we have to embrace it.
Wow, it's a tough job. I think sometimes the emotions can get in the way. But when we speak about teenage pregnancy specifically, and you've interacted with all these teenagers, we're talking even the pre-teens engaging in sex. How much do people understand that teenagers know and engage in sexual activities?
I would say we are not very much aware of how much they involve in sex. And I cannot say that it is the whole truth that we know what they are doing outside there. And being that we had COVID for kids were out of school for 9 months.
Right.
And we had given them a chance to use the social media, to have online classes. These are the times that we were also losing part of our children. And because most of our parents are out there trying to get food for their kids, to take them to good schools, I think we lose it somewhere by just coming home. You're the away mom, a mom that is never there, or a dad that is never there.
Right.
So we don't know what they're going through. And I'll tell you this for free, that even most parents are not aware when their girl children started having their menstrual period. Who taught them how to have menstrual hygiene? And how was it for the first time? It is something we are missing. And when our kids find out that we are missing all this about them, they feel sad. And this makes them go out there. And if they find a shoulder that can listen to them, then that is the best place they feel they're okay. Unfortunately, most of these people out here will take advantage of our young girls or our young boys, something that we are not aware of. But I wish that people would listen today and find time to look at what is in our kids. What are we doing for our children? Let's start this talk about sex as early as possible. Let's mentor our children to have a better way of understanding and to make them delay this sexual debut that they're having right now.
Yeah.
So that they can become better people in future. We need to reduce this issue of teenage moms. It's unfortunate it happens, but when it happens also as mothers, we need to embrace it. We need to give our children a second chance instead of chasing them away from our homes. And when we make them go away from our homes, it is when we are losing it. And we cannot really track back time and find out what happened to our children.
Wow. So doing your work, you are in Nairobi area and you're based in Embakasi.
Yes.
And you've seen a lot of teenage pregnancies, and all this is happening in the backdrop of, COVID-19 is happening. There's been a lot of sensitization about washing hands, getting your vaccination, and everything seems to be centered around COVID-19. You've mentioned the impact of what's staying at home. It was sounded like a happy hashtag, but a lot of kids stayed at home and discovered new things. Some of them were exploited. We cannot ignore the changes. Let's talk about the numbers when we talk about this very serious issue. teenage pregnancies, especially in the area that you're in?
Okay, so I'll take you through the statistics on HIV and pregnancy. And our statistics we are at 1.5 million people who are living with HIV. And 4.5% of these HIV infections are between the ages of 15 and 49.
15?
Yes, 15 years and 49. And our burden still remains very high at 15 and 49 years old. And this age here is where we get most of our new cases. Every year, our prevalence for adolescent and young people is at 1.96. This one means that annually we will report 10,622 young people who have been infected with HIV. And out of these 10,622, only 76% were able to access care and treatment. And we also have the prevalence on death is at 2,604 of the young adolescent and young people. So with our out of all pregnancies that we have, for every 1,000 pregnancies, 82 of the pregnancies are from young people and adolescent. So we say that is a high number. We expect these people to be in school.
True.
Yeah. So in every 3 young people and adolescent, 1 is always infected with HIV. And in every 3 adolescent, 1 will access antenatal services. And as we're speaking about it, when a young girl has gotten pregnant, it means they were having unprotected sex.
Right.
And they're also at a risk of getting STIs and HIV. So you might look at it in a manner that you got pregnant, you got HIV, you got a different STI. So these are very difficult things to deal with when you're a young girl.
Wow, it's messy.
Yes.
I want to discuss the contributing factors to these numbers that you've shared. And who are these people impregnating teenage girls?
I would say they're within us. They're both young boys and young men and adolescent boys and even older men. But when and where it happened, it is everywhere. The sad part is that most of them also will have undergone sexual gender-based violence, and they never reported, and it ended up in unwanted pregnancies.
You see the numbers on the news, you see the stories, a lot of girls, sitting for their exams, or others who missed sitting for their finals because of situations like this. And you think it must be somebody else's daughter. It must be somebody else's child. What is the role of boys and the young men when it comes to teenage pregnancy?
I would say it takes 2 to tangle. And it means that it takes 2 for a pregnancy. So we need to also educate our young boys that it is important to talk about sexuality, to talk about protected sex, and to also have an idea of the consequences of having unprotected sex. Because definitely if you have unprotected sex, you're going to impregnate this young girl. And we also need to educate our young boys that they need to take how do I put it?
They need to take responsibility?
They need to take, thank you. They need to take responsibility of their actions. Yes.
So when you speak with them, and I'm very curious, especially for your work, when you sit with them and you try to counsel them and talk about this and try to understand them, and what they're thinking and how they're thinking, is there any remorse? Is there any sort of acknowledgement of their role when it comes to impregnating young girls? And I'm trying to look at the kind of ages, and you're talking 15. You even mentioned earlier, girls as young as 9 are engaging in sex. What is the frame of mind of the young boy, the young man?
The young man, according to our cultures and maybe our setup, the young man feels that because they're having sex and they're children, they'll not get pregnant. So you see that they're missing some of these important issues surrounding sexuality. So the young boy is kind of shocked. He doesn't know what to do. He's a parent when he never expected to be a parent. And most of them will not want to take it up to be parents at that age. So the young girl is left wandering around with a pregnancy. No one wants her around. The person who impregnated her also doesn't want to hear anything about it.
Yeah.
So our boys need to really take control. And if they're not ready to be parents, we need to engage them in very constructive conversations about having protected sex, in preventive programs that they may be mentored and learn more about. It's not only about sex. They learn that they need to take up their education, need to take up courses that will make them have better jobs, and also delay this sexual debut so that they can become better people.
Wow.
In future.
Very well said. I love the way that, you speak to them as human beings, and you're also encouraging us to admit and embrace the fact that these children are having sex and you've seen it. Thank you so much for that. But let's talk about continuing debate about adolescents having access to contraceptives. There's been religious views, traditional views, and all manner of views. But you're in the heart of the conversation. You're interacting with these children. What's your take on adolescents and contraception?
I would say that it is important for us to talk about contraception, especially when we find out our children are having sex. Yes, we can counsel them and they can practice secondary virginity, but how practical is this? When you already got pregnant in your first sexual debut, what will happen next if we never give you information that if you have sex again, you might get pregnant, you might get HIV or any other STI. And this will predispose you to even a difficult life than before. So we really need to talk about contraception. It doesn't mean that we are telling them to take it up, and we also need to go beyond these young children or young adolescents and young people. We need to also talk to the community. Let's have sensitizations, and let's have dialogues with the community and tell them the importance of having contraception being accessible to these young people. We know very well in our country that children and young people and adolescents have the right to access help, right to access education, right to access shelter. So, and health it's an umbrella. So health might be you want to go for family planning, you want to go for HIV testing, you want to go for curative services. So we should not deny these young people the chance to go to get contraception.
Right.
Yes. So we need to give them information, let them make informed choice with the situation they are in at that moment.
What would you say to someone who feels, well, a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old is too young to make an informed choice, quote unquote, whatever choice that is? And what role do parents play? Do you feel a sense of abandonment or neglect or avoidance from parents? Because when they come to you and you interact with them, do you get the impression that parents are present and they've, encouraged the children to make these decisions that you're talking about?
I will say yes, parents are present, and no, some are not present.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to judge anyone. We have different situations that are going around our lives.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that they would want such a thing to happen to their children. The unfortunate part also, we have these young girls and young boys who don't have parents at all. They have no one to take care of them. So they're left to fend for themselves. And that one makes them to become an adult, of which they never wanted to be adults that fast.
Right.
Yeah, so they're left there. They need to look for food. If they have other younger siblings, they need to take care of their younger siblings. And this one brings a lot of a heated conversation when we say that young children should be given a chance to access contraception. So a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old, yes, can make an informed choice if the right information
is given. I love that. And it brings me to my next question. I love what you're saying. Where's the information coming from? Who's their guide? It takes a village. Are we communicating this message properly? Where I sit as a mother. You're talking about 9 years, and I'm devastated when you say that 9-year-olds are engaging in sex. But the truth is here with us. Firsthand, we're hearing it from you. I sit here as a sister, a daughter, and I have a weekly radio show, and sometimes it's report the news as is, as media. Is there something we can do differently? How are we talking about these things? How are we educating young people? Do you have a message for everyone who's listening in, every stakeholder?
Yeah, I think we need to approach this issue of teenage pregnancy and HIV as a multisectoral. We need to engage everyone in the community. May it be the parent, the teacher, the clergy, the young girls. And actually the young girls are supposed to be the biggest stakeholders in us making this big step in curbing this issue of high rise of teenage pregnancies.
Right.
They need to come clean. We need to listen to them. Let's talk to our children. There's something they communicate, whether they're quiet or they're talking. They're communicating. And the saddest part is that most of the time we will not listen, and we'll just like do it like, you're joking, and leave it at that. At times when there are those telltale signs that we as parents, we assume, and later on it hits you that, there was an issue here.
I could have.
Let's try talking to our kids. Probably it's also some mental issues that we are not talking about. This child, you may be living with male neighbors or your own relatives, and they're taking advantage of your young girls.
Right.
And because they were scared of coming out because someone else told her, if you speak, I will kill you. If they're good people who can keep secrets, are children, because we threaten them.
Right.
So they'll keep quiet. And when they keep quiet, we lose them. That is when they start having mental issues. And how you'll identify these mental issues, you'll find that now they withdraw. They withdraw from both parents or one parent. They start behaving like they don't want anything, or they'll even like be very hyper. And you're just looking at it and you're saying, it's just a stage.
Right.
Remember, during this adolescent age, the time they are at 10 to 14 and 15 to 19, the young, they're going through a lot. Their bodies also are going through a lot of things, and they'll really need guidance. And if we don't do it, who will do it for us? So we need to have information that it is well tailored to reach these young girls. They might be reading some of the information in the social media, but it is not still communicating to what they expect. When you find your child like, like going through the social media, trying to find out things about sexuality, the first thing a mother will do is to shout.
Right.
But you've not even tried to find out, why is she there? So when we find out why they're doing that, maybe it would help us. So we need to put in place good information in the social media that they can access. We need also to make our facilities to become adolescent friendly, so that they can, when they come to our facilities, they feel comfortable. We can maintain confidentiality between us and them, so that they can be able to speak out their mind and they can get better services. Let's try to give information. We also need to talk to this community. I know we have a lot of myths and misconceptions that these are young girls. They'll not get pregnant if they start using contraception very early.
Yes.
And we are forgetting that if you ask any young girl right now, if he or she wanted to get pregnant, or the boy wanted to impregnate the young girl, they'll definitely say no. And they were having it for fun because they've seen that it is something that is going on.
Right.
So they've not really internalized. And how we convey our message around is that is bad manners. Let's talk about it beyond bad manners.
Right.
Let's give them information that they are able to sit down, internalize whatever we're talking about, and then they're able to make an informed choice, and they can delay this sexual debut, and they can have a better living later on in life.
Well said, Diana. I love that. And when you talk about the sexual debut, there's so many things in there that we need to unpack from, sexuality conversations. We've been seeing a lot of influence from different sources, issues to do with HIV and STIs, and also the impact post-pregnancy and the fact that pregnancy is not the only thing to fear. There's so many things also with the family and the community around the child, the adolescent. How can parents be equipped to support adolescents and young children, preteens, and the young adults from engaging in sexual activity, fully understanding the impact and the consequences?
So I think we should take this like parents should also be given a chance to be sensitized and be taught about sexuality and when to start talking about it with their children. I know most of us as parents, we are scared of, if we start this conversation, where are we headed?
Right.
But it is heading somewhere that we don't want to reach.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe if we gave this information early, we would avoid a lot of these issues that we have currently.
Yeah.
So parents need to be taken through classes. They understand, especially when they go for meetings in schools. They sit down, teachers, parents sit down, have a conversation on sexual education and sexuality. Let them unpack everything, like, let's talk about sex. Let's talk about what our children understand with sex and what an adult will understand in sex. So we talk about it. We make them comfortable. Let parents be friends to their children so that they can be able to talk about anything and nothing. And they can joke about most of these things.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm now that you're here, I'm going to take maximum advantage and ask one question before we get into a commercial break and share a traffic update. I'm really enjoying this conversation. And how early should you be having that talk, the talk? And some people want to stay away from it. They want to delegate that responsibility to somebody else. Let the teachers do it. You know what? I don't even want to think about my daughter having sex. I don't want to think about my son even knowing what that 3-letter word means. They don't want to touch it. When is too early? When is too soon? And what's a good time? Is there an appropriate time that you'd recommend?
I would say it's a yes and a no. It depends. Our kids we have different capabilities and different abilities. You'll find a 5-year-old starting asking you about sex. Another child will stay up to like 6-7 years. They'll ask you about it. And I feel like when this child is able to realize who he or she is, it is important to start educating them at that time. I'm not saying that you just go into it and just start talking about sex immediately. Bring them closer.
Right.
Ask them about their friends, what they talk about, and how is their friendship with their friends. Because I always joke, I always see my young girl coming home and telling me, Mommy, let me tell you something today. I have a boyfriend. And I ask her, what does that mean?
Oh, my God.
A friend who is a boy. You see?
Before you set the house on fire.
Yeah. She has tried unpacking what she means by this boyfriend in school. So let's ask them, what are you doing together?
Right.
Are these friendships that we'll want to keep or abandon? Let's try and make them feel comfortable in their own skins, in their own environments, that there's nothing wrong they're doing. And let them be able to say no when it is unnecessary for some things that are happening outside here. We need to teach our children to call people by their names, to refer to things as they're called. Let's not start telling your child that all neighbors are aunties and uncles.
Right.
And when a child is sexually violated, the best thing she'll come home and say, ni auntie ama ni uncle, alifanya nini, tabia mbaya. You see, and that at that point is where we are messing up. Let this child be able to say, oh, this is Auntie Diana.
And it happens it happens quite a lot.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of confusion. A sense of betrayal, a sense of, why would auntie, uncle do this? And I like that one. That's something. Not everyone. Label things as they are. Hit us up with your questions. In the beautiful company of Dana Odok, clinician at Nairobi Metropolitan Services, coordinating HIV and STI services. Today we're talking about teenage pregnancies and some of the things we're doing wrong and some of the things we're doing right. Every day we learn a new thing. I'm in the company of Diana Odok, clinician at NMS, coordinating HIV and STI services. She interacts a lot with teenagers, and she's been schooling us and telling us a lot of things. But yeah, we have yet another surprise. We have the company of Faith, a teenage mother who is live here on the Spice Drive, and seeing her beautiful baby just almost had me just madly in love. Cute baby. And the baby is in love with Spice FM Studios, cooperating, and let's see how this one's going to go. I'm going to make sure... Aww. Cutie. Faith, karibu sana. Welcome to the Spice Drive. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
Are you shy?
No.
Have you ever done an interview with your baby?
No.
You've never?
Yes.
How old are you, Faith? You can speak up, and I'm going to adjust your microphone shortly. But we're hanging out with Diana Odok. And her area of expertise is coordinating HIV and STI services. And yes, you can stream and watch. We've got Faith and your son. What's the name of your boy?
Havila.
Havila.
Yes.
Wow. What does Havila mean?
Heart of gold.
Hearts of gold. Oh, bless the baby. We've been hearing about teenage pregnancies, and I've never met someone as young as you are. How old are you?
I'm 19 years old.
You're 19. You're a mom. How old is the baby?
8 months.
8 months. How has it been? How has life been for you as a mother at 19?
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not working. He needs everything from me. Like pampers, food.
Yes.
And it's hard to get it without work.
Without
Sometimes,
work?
Yes.
Mm.
Sometimes when I say I have to go to work, other people look at me and say, you're too young, you cannot work.
Right.
Yes.
So they dismiss you even just from the get-go, just looking at you. They say, you're too young.
Yes.
Yeah, you cannot work. At what age did you get pregnant?
18. Yes.
And was it your first time having sex? Your first time, and you got pregnant?
Yes.
Do you mind me asking about the reactions from people around you, your family, your friends, and even the father of the child? What was their reaction when you said, I'm pregnant, or when you discovered you were pregnant? Who was the first person you told, and what were the reactions?
My friend. The first person I told is my friend.
Also
My
of the same
best
age?
friend.
Yeah.
No. She's 21.
Mm-hmm.
I told her that I'm pregnant, and she told me that I have to tell my father.
Mm-hmm.
I was so scared because I didn't know how he'd react.
Wow. So you told your friend?
Yes.
Mm.
And she's the one who went and told my father that I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
My father was so scared. He was like, he can't believe that I'm pregnant. I was
Yes.
so sikuwa na kamtua kupata mimba hiyo time.
Mtu wa kupata
Nilikuwa
mimba anakaaje?
mdogo.
Mtu wa kupata mimba anakaaje? That's what your father said.
Alikuwa hakuwa na expect nitapata mimba hiyo age. Alikuwa anaona mimi ni mzuri, as in siwezi fanya hivyo. So he was so scared. Hakuniongeleshanga. Ndo nikaambianga my stepmother amuongeleshe juu mimi siko ready kutoa hiyo mimba. Akaniambia hadi taka nitoe. He's ready for everything.
Right.
The father of my son hakuwa anataka nizae.
Alikuwa anataka utoe mimba? Ulikuwa unampenda?
So much. Sana.
Ako wapi sahi?
Ako tu uko home.
Do you meet? Do you see him? Nakinini, halo.
After niliza alikubali. Juu mtu alitoka nafana tu na yeye.
Love it. Akakubali. But the first time alikuwa anataka utoe. And your dad supported you every step of the way.
Yes.
Akasema, I'm surprised, but I'll be there for you.
Yes.
So who would you consider your biggest support system?
My father.
Your father. Did you have people judging you? when as your belly was growing, because you're petite, you're so
Yes.
small.
Nilikuwa natembea kila mtu ananiangalia ni kama si kupata mimba ni kitu kubwa. Natembea kila mtu anaongea ule mtoto ako na mimba na venye ni mdogo. So uko na miaka ngapi? Uko na 13. Uko na mimba kwa hivyo mdogo. Wanani judge. Hadi nilikuwa naogopa kutembea venye ilikuwa kubwa.
So emotionally umepitia mengi, and thinking that people are judging you, looking at you. What is your understanding of HIV and AIDS? And I know pregnancy, you learned along the way. Oh, nimepata mimba, you have a support system. Let's talk about your knowledge of HIV and STIs. Nasikia wasichana wanaogopa sana mimba, but HIV ni kama, we don't want to talk about that. When was the first time you heard about AIDS, HIV, STIs? Ulikuwa unajua nini about that?
HIV.
HIV, getting diseases after having sex. Were you understanding?
Yes.
What did you know about it? Say what you feel. You're home.
Si kila mtu anakopanga HIV. But HIV is not a big deal. Sasa ukipata uko nayo uwezi jiua juu HIV. Si unaishi tu maisha. Unakubali uko nayo na una live the life of
being positive.
Hizo drugs. Si big deal. Mimi kwangu HIV is not a big deal.
Do you think being pregnant is more serious?
Yes.
Than having HIV?
Yes.
Diana, I want to hand this over to you. What do you feel about Faith's response?
I feel it's a response coming from someone who is not really aware of what is really HIV. And also the different issues that come with HIV. I'm not saying that having HIV is wrong. She's right at some point. When you have it, you accept it. But it is a process. You will not accept it overnight. It is a process that if you don't have a very supportive system around you, you will break down. And you can imagine how she's saying it. She was pregnant and she was very scared. And it tells us something.
Right.
By the time she was having sex, she probably didn't know the HIV status of the sexual partner. Young girls are not even able to negotiate for safer sex as they're growing up.
Right.
And she's brought it out very clearly that she got pregnant with her first sexual debut. It tells us a lot of things. And if the boyfriend was older than her, it means the boyfriend is the one who was calling shots in everything that happened between them. And for ladies, it's very simple. If she loves, she gives it all.
So there's an emotional angle to it, and of course, almost confirming everything that we were talking about earlier. But I just want to applaud Faith for even being brave, Kukujapa, to talk about your experience. You've got a beautiful child. And you're beautiful. You're beautiful. I mean, you and you're smart. And to have your father reacting and, responding in that way after your experience is also a message to other fathers, other parents that are listening. And I think that went a long way in having her go through the months of that experience. We're going to cross over to the next hour shortly, but I have one question for you, my dear. And it's all about what you learned. The baby is here. Umesema, mimi siogopi HIV, niko na mtoto, lakini life ni hard. Right?
Yes.
Umesema life ni hard. I'll pick up a call here, and if you're calling in on 0719012600, we request for kindness and decency as we engage in this conversation. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Hi, Monique.
I'm great. How are you?
Fine, thank you. This is Stephen Ojuang.
Welcome, Stephen Ojuang. Good to have you on the Spice Drive.
Yes, I'm calling you from Malindi.
Yes.
I'm loving the conversation.
Thank you so very much. You can say hello to Diana and Faith.
Yes, say hi to Diana. Diana, hi.
Hi.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
And I really love the conversation. I'm first caller.
Yes.
This is my first time calling.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Yes, I always love your show.
Thank you so much.
The DM, I've been waiting for DM.
Thank you so
Can you
much.
tell us if it's there?
Yes.
Is it there?
Well, it's on the way. We're going to be having it in right after this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But on your conversation,
Yes.
I really love the conversation and they're doing a good job.
Yes.
And but we really need to talk about this. If you don't talk about it,
Yes.
that is where we are going wrong. That is where we are going wrong.
Absolutely.
And I love what your guest has said.
Yes.
As early as we start talking this conversation,
Right.
the better.
The earlier, the better.
The earlier we start, the better.
Well said, Stephen. Stand by. We've got more coming your way. Thank you so much for being part of the show. It's all about you. And we're going to be crossing over to the next hour. You can send your comments, your feedback, whether you've got, a memory triggered by this conversation that takes you all the way back. I don't know how old you are. We've got an audience of amazing, beautiful people of different ages. So contribute, get on the hashtag Spice Drive, Spice FMKE. We've got the beautiful baby. What's his name again? Havila is here with us, my first baby guest. I've never had a baby guest. And Faith, and of course Diana as well. We're trying to unpack and understand somebody else's point of view. And those stories that you get to see in the headlines, firsthand, what it's like to be a teenage mom in this country. And one of the questions that has been posted on social media is where Faith's friends are today. Do they understand your new responsibilities? Do they still want you to hang out? What relationships have changed since you became a mom?
Like, I don't go to parties because I have a child.
Right.
Siendangi places mingi nilikuwa naendanga nikuwa hivyo bila mimba bila mtoto. Yeah.
Now marafiki zako, do they understand?
Yes.
Or do they think you're not cool enough?
They understand.
They've been supportive and kind?
Yes.
Ah, baby is so cute. Diana, let's talk about where we all come together. As we sit on this desk and we're having this conversation, a lot of feedback is coming in, a lot of reactions. Someone is listening in and they have a 19-year-old, they have a 16-year-old, and they think, no, just like Faith's dad. Mtoto is he? She's good. She's a nice girl. Were you part of church choir? You were part of, certain things where your father thought he knew you and he didn't. And then there's a role you play. How can we all come together now that we're here? And Faith is one of the bravest young moms we've seen to come and share your story with us on Spice Drive. Where do you come in? And if Faith needed your support, how can she access?
I would say that, Faith, you're brave, and thank you so much. Let's try support these young girls. They need us. Let's walk with them through this journey.
Yeah.
It is quite surprising. She says that her friend, who is of 21 years, was able to hide her for 3 months when she was still thinking of how to reach out to her dad. The beauty of it is that the dad never took it in the dad was disappointed, but he could still take her in. And we thank God for that. And we say that maybe the father has never had any conversation with Faith. That's why Faith was also lost in the middle of all this. The father was also lost. And we see where all this is coming from.
Right.
And Faith needs someone to work with her. She's so lucky she has already done her secondary education, isn't it, Faith? She needs someone to tell her that she needs to continue with life. She needs to think of herself.
Right.
away from the father of the child. She needs to make a better faith than the one everyone knew. The guys when she used to walk around the estates and people will tell her, this young girl is pregnant. They'll one day say that this young girl is now a doctor, is now a lawyer, is now a very prominent business lady, and she's doing very fine.
Faith. I got faith in you, Faith. I love it.
So Faith,
I love it.
Take it positively. You are not alone. We are here to guide, to take you through this journey. It is not easy. Motherhood has its own challenges, isn't it?
Yes.
And you can, she has actually spoke about it very well. Baby needs diapers.
Yes.
Baby needs food. She also needs to clothe.
For yourself.
And all this is done by the father. So Faith is one of the examples that we have here.
Right.
That was never even told to leave her own home because she's pregnant. And we are thankful for that father.
Right.
That father who made Faith who she is right now. Faith,
we want to shout
all
out
is
Faith's,
not lost.
Faith's dad right now for also setting a brilliant example.
True.
I'll just share with you really quickly. My father would have torched. My father would have. I don't even want to imagine what that is. And I think that we're in the right. We're going in the right direction. I don't know if you feel that he looks at you and still reminds you of, you don't want that. You also want to create and curve a new identity for yourself moving forward. We don't know what he truly feels in his heart of hearts, but for him to support and be there with you, he's also telling you, you're still my child. Whether the guy would have been there or not, baby's dad would have decided he's not going to acknowledge the baby. At least we can say that there's dads like that. Dads that I've never heard of, by the way. I'll just tell you that. And there's been a lot of encouragement for you, Faith, and all the great work you're doing, Diana. Diana also is a parent, and you have a heart of a parent. So you also see Faith as your child. So
True.
There's a lot of people that would react differently from what we hear, from what the stories say in the narrative. Faith, if you were to send a message to your dad, what would you say?
I just love him. And thank you for everything. You have been with me all the way. I don't know what to say.
He's an amazing granddad also too, baby.
Yes.
You're blessed.
So much.
You're blessed. What would you do differently, and what are your plans now that the baby ananyonya vizuri? I've seen he's a go-getter. Do you have plans in mind moving forward?
Yes.
What are your plans?
My plans are niende shule, beauty, nisome beauty cause najua kushuka sijui kufanya beauty. Then nifungue job yangu.
And you'll get there. You'll get there. So many people rooting for you. It's not the end. And I'm sure, Diana, this is a message you give a lot of these young moms. It's not the end. It's just the beginning, and you can learn from it, teach others, spread the word. I'm going to wrap up this conversation now, and it's very, very emotional to do. I'm going to wrap it up with some comments that I've seen here on the timeline. David is listening in from Meru, loving the show. This one here says, if I remember very well, I learned about HIV and teenage pregnancy in class 6. And it's on the primary syllabus because our science teacher taught us. Congratulations to the brave young mom, Faith, for standing firm to keep and protect the baby. That one is going out to you. I'm seeing another one here. And it's all about faith. Monique, what Faith is saying here is heard a lot with especially kids and adults born from the year 2000. HIV, STIs. It's just another day in the office. Diana, what do you take on this comment? It's not a big deal for a lot of the 2000s. Is that the case? Do you have young girls, young boys, young men speaking to you and they understand the importance of having that knowledge?
I'd say it's a big deal. And most of the young boys and girls, when they look back, they would want to like turn back time and would lead their lives better. But still we say it was a stepping stone. They've learned something and now they're better people wherever they are. And we don't need to really reprimand the young girls.
Right.
If we guide them in a good way, they'll make better people. So let's just be open-minded. Let's talk about these issues that are emerging every now and then. Let's not shut our children out.
Right.
We need to involve all the young people in the decisions and in every plan we are making in our lives, because they'll still play a very big role. Right now, Faith was a child. Yesterday, Faith was a child.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Today, Faith is a mom. So this young boy that is with us today will need to know something on sexuality sooner or later.
True.
And with what Faith has said, I'm sure Faith will be a better person and she will try to make it better for her younger one.
Right. There's a comment that I've seen on the timeline, and they say with the young girls today and the young boys, and we can take advantage of you coming in, Diana, that the motivation for young girls to engage in sex early is money. Is that a huge lie? Is there any truth to that? Money. And a lot of people taking advantage, understanding what so-and-so needs.
It's true. And for some it may be no. The kids who are out here, they live in very good family setups. They have everything they want. The only thing they don't have is that mother figure or father figure to even come home and tell them, how was your day?
Right.
So they'll go out there and seek solace from different people.
Just because they gave them the attention.
They don't have anyone to have any attention with them. And I'll also say, true, poverty is the leading cause for all these teenage pregnancies. We want to, young girls and young boys want to live like the people they see on Instagram, on other social media platforms. They want to dress well, but because they don't have that cash, what next? And if someone was driving along and told them, if you give me, I'll be able to fund you shopping, your schooling, and then they'll give in.
Right.
Because they don't have information. And this information, it starts all the way from our homes. Let's nurture our kids. Let's tell them what is about life. Let's talk to them about what is happening outside here. And you see, the fact that some homes you'll find poverty is too much, and the young girl came back home and had bought maybe food. Everyone will eat without asking where
the money came from.
Exactly.
And you find girls that, really young, and they're the ones who feel they need to also support the family. So it could play, in fact, it does play a major role, according to that comment. I'm seeing a lot of encouragement, Diana, for the work you're doing. I have never met anyone from NMS. But we see them on the timelines, on the streets. But also to know that this is an area that you're passionate about, and also an area that Nairobi Metropolitan Services is taking seriously, setting aside programs where you can interact with young girls and young men, as you've said. What are the plans for the rest of the year? And how can Kenyans and anyone listening in from the diaspora engage you if they wanted to be part of this ongoing conversation? In fact, it's evolving. The needs are changing. Children are changing. And, we can't keep up. In fact, I think we are way behind time. How can people engage an NMS? I've never seen a pretty NMS officer coming into a studio engaging us on this level. Someone even said, She's an officer. I said, yes. She's doing this work. How can people get in touch with you?
I would say they can get in touch with me anywhere. I'm based in Embakasi West. My offices are in Umoja. Though I would say NMS is really trying.
Yes.
It's trying to make all health facilities that are headed by NMS are
Right.
made to be adolescent friendly, and we have also adolescent friendly healthcare workers.
Right.
And we are still trying very hard to make sure that most of our healthcare workers are able to offer services to these young people without any stigma, any judgments, so that we can have these young girls making good choices at the end of the day. Yes.
Very well done. And I like that you're saying government is paying attention. People are trying. We understand and we relate when it comes to the needs of young people. There's a lot of young moms who still need guidance even after the baby is born. Faith, we are proud of you and you're doing a great job. And having your company on today's show has been amazing and enlightening. We'll definitely get in touch with you. We want to see how we can support you. And also, you've mentioned your dreams and what you want to do moving forward, going back to school and, shaping your life. It's a different thing, but you're still on course, right?
Yes.
Any special messages you'd like to send to someone who's listening into the Spice Drive today? Before I let you go, I know baby needs to get home before it gets dark and cold. And, any message, anything you'd like to say before I wrap up the interview? You're okay? All right. Thank you so much for coming, Faith. And I'm sure you two will get in touch and speak some more. Of course, you can engage us on the hashtag Spice Drive at SpiceFMKE. And this has been one of the best days at work for me. So thank you so much, Diana, for coming through to the Spice Drive. Diana Odok, clinician at Nairobi Metropolitan Services. Yes, she's pretty and young and she is approachable, coordinating HIV and STI services. A lot of questions there. We need to have more of these forums. And thank you so much for contributing. Faith, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us. It's not every other day that people agree to do this. So thank you. And I have a song for Faith. It's perfect. It's by Stevie Wonder and Ariana Grande. It's called Faith.